Here we go. We're back. It is going to be Monday evening, Monday afternoon, whenever I release this. But we're going to go over what I watched this week in theaters and in TV as well. It wasn't too big of a week. I didn't get a chance to see the Devil Conspiracy. If that's something you really want me to go and see, leave it in the comments. But it didn't get great reviews. The trailer didn't really hit me very well. I didn't want to kind of spend another hour or so watching that type of a movie. But again, there's not much coming out this next week, so let me know if you want to watch it there. But when it comes to what I watched this week, I watched 3 different movies and TV shows. The first is The Last of Us. It kind of premiered on Sunday. It had its first episode on HBO. Amazing time. I'll go into that more here. Second movie I got to see was the new Jerry Butler movie, Plane. Gerald. I don't know how to say his name perfectly, but I hear he likes being called Jerry. I hear he likes being called Jared. So we'll go with Jared, Butler, and talk about Plane here next. And then finally, I'll go a little bit more into my details about House Party. I know I got a little bit of flack, and I understand so for House Party in my review here on the channel. But I'll go into more of what didn't work for me, but also why I think the people who left comments on my shorts have every right to say what they do, because I think it's a very important thing to realize in today's, not this world and climate, but I think they have a point, and it very much is something I want to talk about more when we get to House Party. But let's start off with The Last of Us. Episode 1, the pilot, finally came on HBO. I got to watch it HBO Max. I watched with a couple friends tonight. What a strong pilot. I'm going to go on the spoilers here, so if you don't want to know too much of what happened in tonight's debut episode, go ahead and skip forward about 4 or 5 minutes. See if I'm still on The Last of Us. If you see Plane's graphic up here, that means I'm going to be talking about Plane. But man, this episode was just really well done. I thought the way they showed the beginning of this pandemic / what happened with Joel and Sarah and Tommy was really powerful. They really got you to understand Sarah and really get kind of attached to her as a character, as Joel's daughter. The kind of bond they have as father-daughter, per se, and to see her kind of halfway through the episode, that something happens that causes her to pass, left a lot of emotion on me. I had some very deep kind of tears in my eyes, very powerful. When we got to have the time jump to 20 years in the future, I like that because it kind of cuts out the BS, like where society is going that we've seen with other TV shows like The Walking Dead when it comes to a zombie-like apocalypse. So we got to see where the world is at there. I think finding out where Ellie's at and who she is, I really like that. They really hint at, I haven't played the game, especially the first game. I really know nothing about. I watched a lot of the second game from a friend's, watch along type stream. But knowing kind of who Ellie is and what's important about her, I love that the show made that very clear and obvious by the end of episode 1. I think her and Joel, and seeing how Joel is going kind of sees her as a daughter figure of what happened with Sarah, is going to leave an amazing impact in this show. I'm not sure how many episodes this season 1's going to be, but I thought the production value was very good. I think Bella Ramsey was great as Ellie. Pedro Pascal was phenomenal as Joel. A couple of the other side characters were really well done in here. It had kind of your quirky pilot dialogue that kind of has to happen, that feels a little bit clunky when you don't know who these characters fully are yet. But I was fully sold on The Last of Us. And if you're kind of on the hinge of what you're going to watch in terms of a big drama, big series, The Last of Us is definitely going to be my big recommendation. This is a week-to-week show. It is going to, I hope, to be the next HBO mainstay on their channel on HBO Max. I think they're putting a lot of eggs in the basket for The Last of Us. And episode 1 for me delivered. It was 80 minutes. It felt long at points, but it felt like it was meant to be long at points. You really got an understanding of what it was like for Joel before this happened, as well as what happened after it, and where we're going to be going from this. Again, I can't wait for episode 2 next Sunday. I think this show is going to be a huge hit, and I think the quality in here from the, as it shows in the graphic here, the creator of Chernobyl, I think we could get nothing but great things out of. And the game itself, I mean, I think this adaptation will be probably the best live action adaptation of a video game we would have had. I'll have to see how it ranks up with some things like, you know, Castlevania. I'm a very, very, very big Arcane fan. It was one of my favorite shows of 2021. I played League of Legends throughout. I thought the show did a great job with its characters and its story there. I think The Last of Us is going to be right next to Arcane as a video game adaptation that the average audience, whether they play the game or not, are going to enjoy. And I think that's always a great thing. I think that now that we're getting the video game adaptation mediums into a place where not only are we arguing what's going to be the best video game adaptation in terms of itself, but we're arguing that these shows are some of the best shows that come out in their years, or even the movies in their years. I think really, really leads into the 2020s being the video game adaptation decade per se. I hope it doesn't become too cliched. I hope that these companies and these studios really, bring in the talent that develops the characters and the stories of these games, because I think that's what will help make the audience understand these characters. But off the bat, The Last of Us, the first episode, completely amazing. I cannot wait for episode 2. If you weren't sure if you were going to check out this series, I highly, highly, highly recommend it on HBO and HBO Max. It's going to come out next Sunday. I'm going to keep posting my reviews of each episode week to week on the channel. So if you want to see my thoughts on The Last of Us in short review form, like and subscribe. You'll see it every single Sunday night after I finish the show, right after the episode airs. So let's move on, though, to our next movie that I got to watch in theaters, and that is going to be Jared Butler's Planed. Now, he was kind of paired up with Mike Colter, and this movie has gotten a lot more positive reviews than I thought it would be. When I made my review, I thought this was a movie that I enjoyed in the theater. I got to see it with my Regal Unlimited, so I didn't pay any money for it. It was an hour and 40 minutes. It kind of knew the exact movie it was trying to be. It was an action movie. It wasn't trying to over-deliver kind of plot per se. It wasn't trying to over-deliver character moments. You had them in bits and pieces, but there really wasn't nothing big there. And it was a really good time. But I thought to myself, it was very plain. I don't know if I can recommend this for people to watch with like a $10 or $15 amount that it costs per ticket in today's world of movie watching. But this was actually a really enjoyable movie. I think the opening sequence, kind of going over what happens to the plane itself, was decently well done. Though I do have to say, there's a lot of parts in it where I was like, I've flown a lot in my lifetime. And what happened in that movie with the pilot, with with certain elements of the plane ride, not that it wasn't full, but how the pilot was greeting people, all that stuff, I've never had happen in my life. If that's something that you experience pretty often with yours, leave a comment down below and let me know. But I thought that was kind of a little bit like, it didn't make much sense. But once the plane kind of, gets landed, crash landed per se, I thought the movie did a great job being an action-y type hero movie. It made sense how the plane company was reacting to it. It made sense how Gerard Butler's character was acting to it. Mike Colter, they didn't try to make him into this stereotypical, I'm a bad guy that might have done bad things in my past, but I'm really a good guy now. They kind of told you who he is, why things might not be what they seem, and why you might be okay with what happens with him in the movie. But they didn't try to over-explain it. There was a crew that tried to save them. Again, I liked how they did that. The movie was very well kind of grounded, but not grounded per se. It wasn't, the villains weren't really much deep to them. This is a movie, once it comes out, I don't know if it'll come out on Netflix or it'll come out on another streaming service, but it's one that I recommend people go and, if you're looking for just a plain kind of action-y type movie, this is something I think you'll enjoy at home. I don't know if you can enjoy this if you were paying $15 in a theater, but it has decent reviews. It got like a B+ cinema score, which is pretty decent for an action movie like it was. And like I said, I recommend people give it a chance when when it's at the price point that you're positive with. And I think that it was better than I thought it was going to be. Based on the trailer, I thought it was going to be pretty boring, bland, and horrid. It wasn't special. It didn't try and recreate the wheel, but it also knew that it wasn't doing that when it's made the movie. So parts of the movie just generally, like I said, it worked well because it knew what it was. So again, Plane, recommend you give it a chance to see it when it's at the right price for you. Whether that's going to be in theaters, whether that's going to be at home. It wasn't an offensive movie. It was a decently enjoyable movie, but it wasn't the best thing you're going to see in 2023. Now, that leads me to the last thing I saw this week, which was House Party. I was and still am pretty negative about this movie. Um, it was a movie that you had two friends who one's kind of a person who has a daughter that is trying to make a life for himself, and one friend is a basically a screw up per se, and kind of screws up not his life but those people's around him. But they end up getting fired at their cleaning job, and while they're cleaning LeBron James's house, and they decide, hey, you know how we can make money for different reasons and help out the main character's daughter get into her preschool? We can throw a house party at LeBron James's house. And my main issues with House Party comes from the fact that it wasn't the comedy per se. There were parts of the comedy I enjoyed, but so much of this movie was plot based around why we have to do the house party, why it's important for these characters to do the house party, and why we're trying to grow these characters as individuals per se, with the stupid idea like the house party at LeBron James's house that everybody in the world knows wouldn't work. There were parts of this movie that was very, very funny. There was a bit with Kid Cudi that I actually really enjoyed. I don't know how much the main audience might enjoy it, but I took a little bit of heat saying that there's a lot of jokes that might have happened in this movie that I didn't get because I am white and I live in Idaho, Boise, Idaho to be precise. Now, I didn't grow up in Boise, Idaho. I grew up in a different part of the country. I live here now because of my full time job. But that person, I think they have a point that I am Caucasian. There's going to be jokes, that people who live in a different type of part of the world and different type of society may understand better and may enjoy better. And with movies, the best thing about movies is that they represent a vast group of people, and some people will enjoy them, and some people, regardless of race, sex, or color, will not enjoy them either way. And for me, I think anybody who enjoys this movie, I'm happy for. I think the best thing about movies is that they can be watched and enjoyed by anybody. So, first off, if I sounded overly negative about House Party in my short review, and you felt that I was, I was somebody who wasn't in the intended audience for it, I'm sorry that you might have felt that way. I go into every movie wanting to enjoy it. I was really looking forward to this movie as being a comedy after a slew of dramas and action movies that we've had the last couple months. That I would even I can't even think the last time we had a true comedy come out. So I was looking forward to this movie a lot. And like I said, for me, the storylines of the two friends and the dramatic type um, story points that they tried making throughout each point of the movie and each act, that I was like, this I kind of wish this was just like more of a laid back house party. The characters, we didn't have to go into why they're doing it too much. They just want to throw a house party to make money for themselves, and we got to experience it and have more funny bits. But you kept adding in these serious points and these serious points, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, can we just have fun with what we're doing? Um, and that was kind of my issue with House Party, and why I really didn't enjoy it, and why I don't recommend people go and see it per se in theaters. Um, but again, like I said, I think if there's people out there who are enjoying House Party, listen to them. This might be a movie for you. I'm not the always going to give the 100% most popular opinion. Like, for example, I did not like the new Avatar movie, Way of Water. I thought it was boring. I thought it was long. I thought it was repetitive. I think it definitely looked pretty. I think the visual effects were amazing, but I thought the overall story and the tone and everything about the movie, about itself, was was pretty bleak and boring and bland. And if it wasn't for the amazing CGI that was done, we would be ripping it to parts. A lot of people out there love the new Avatar movie. It's almost making $2 billion worldwide, and I'm in the minority of people who didn't like it. I'm okay with that. I've had work people who've asked me like, "What was your opinion on Avatar?" Like you saw, and I was like, "Hey, you might go and see it. You have your own choice. It wasn't something I liked, and I don't want to make my opinion hurt your enjoyment of the movie, so I kind of let it go." And maybe that's what I should have done a little bit more with House Party a little bit. But it was just not a movie I enjoyed that much. And I think, like I said, there's going to be people out there who enjoy it, and there might be jokes that they get and they're able to understand, and they're able to live more, and that's beautiful. I love that. I think that is exactly what cinema is for. I was just giving my personal review, and for me, I want to emphasize it wasn't the jokes that made in story, that, the essence of House Party that I didn't enjoy. It was the over dramatic plot that was put into the movie that took away from the comedy. And that's why I just didn't like House Party. And I still don't recommend it for people to go and see in theaters. I think if you want to go see it in theaters and if you enjoy it, go ahead and do it. But it wasn't a movie that I thought was worthy of $15 for an individual to see in theaters. And that's how I'm going to end this. What I watched this week. I really wanted to get that off my chest. I think it's a good conversation to have. I think that each one of these we have different type of levels of enjoyment. For me personally, I look forward to next week coming out. I think Missing is going to be really good. I think The Last of Us episode 2 is going to be really, really good. I'll see what else I watch next week. But as far as Last of Us playing in the House Party, I'm happy I went to theaters. I love going to theaters. And I love enjoying type of movies and stuff. And if you like these type of breakdowns each week of what I've seen, if you like short review content of what I think might be worthy of seeing in theaters or whatnot, leave a like, leave a subscription. That's going to be my content as I move out here through 2023. Otherwise, I can't wait to see you next week. Leave your thoughts below. And until next time, I hope you guys have an excellent week. And we'll see you, and we'll see what happens with Missing.